Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. Uh, we'll be starting the webinar in probably just about 1 minute. We'll give a few more moments for everyone to join in. So sit tight and yeah, we'll kick off in just a minute. All right, very good. Again, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining TPGI and our webinar session today around transitioning to ARC as compliant sheriff sunsets come the end of this year. Um, so I always like to start off these sessions with just a really high-level overview of what we'll be covering for today. So here is the agenda. In just a moment, I'll provide a handful of introductions. We'll do a general overview of kind of why we're all here today, which we all should be a bit aware of. Then we'll be able to transition into a demonstration of the ARC platform. We'll do a bit of a comparison conversation between Compliant Sheriff and ARC. We'll talk through deployment options, next steps, and certainly with all remaining time, open it up to Q&A. So do make sure that you use the Q&A panel to ask any questions as we go through today's session so we can address them at the tail end. Also, there is live captioning on for this session, so do feel free to leverage that as you may see fit. And the session is being recorded should there be a need to view the session on demand after the fact. So with that, let's jump into introductions. My name is Brenton West. I'm the Vice President of Compliance Sheriff over at Appgate. Today, you'll also be hearing from two individuals from the TPGI team. That includes Travis Brown, the VP of Sales and Marketing, and Kurt Mattis, Customer Success Consultant and Senior Accessibility Engineer. So with that, let's do that overview, kind of why we're all here today. And it was really all driven at the beginning of the year when Appgate had to make the very difficult decision that Compliant Sheriff was going to kind of enter a end of life timeline this year. And we certainly fought hard not to go down this path, but unfortunately, it was where we were left with. So we wanted to help our customers as much as possible by making the announcement early in the year and providing as much runway for everybody so that you would be able to decide what you want to do as you continue with your needs for automated compliance and accessibility testing. So we made that announcement in February. In Q2, we had been reviewing all of the solutions out in the marketplace. We identified the ARC platform as being really one of the most capable in the marketplace. And so we made a preferred technical recommendation to our customers saying that, if you're looking for an alternative solution, ARC's a really strong contender. So we kind of gave our nod to go look there. So today we're here to do a joint webinar so we can show you ARC's capabilities, talk a little bit about migration options, and just a look ahead. We are gifting all Compliant Sheriff customers the ability to have a perpetual license of Compliant Sheriff running in their environment. And especially for those who leverage a hosted license today, that migration, we're targeting to complete any customer migrations in the August timeline. This will allow for the end of the year to just be a standard period of support for all customers as we do wind down all of our systems and all Compliant Sheriff sales, services, everything concludes come the end of the year. So a couple of really quick highlights. We can go to the next slide. Again, as we reviewed all the solutions in the marketplace, we really saw the ARC platform as one of the most comparable solutions to Compliant Sheriff and its ability to scale features and functions. And another kicker to everything is that there's the ability to offer migration services, taking all that hard work you and your teams have kind of put into Compliant Sheriff over the years to define what web properties you want to scan, even more complex scenarios that leverage transaction scripts to provide keyboard, mouse type capabilities to the automated solution. There's going to be the ability to take all that setup and put it into Arc so that you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel. But we'll certainly cover that as we go through today's session. So without any further ado, I really want to open up the floor to the TPGI team. I'll pass the baton over to Travis so he can introduce his organization, and then we'll be able to take a look at Arc. So with that, Travis.
Great. Thanks, Brendan. And welcome to all of you who are on the call today. Appreciate you all taking the time to connect with us. And thanks, Brendan, for the nice introduction. So as mentioned, we've been in some dialogue with Compliance Sheriff for a while over ways that we might be able to help with the transition for Compliance Sheriff customers to something different. And so today's session is just part of that process for us, is to try to continue to educate current customers and what possibilities exist and as it relates to Arc. For those of you that are not familiar with TPGI, I wanted to kind of do a quick just recap on who we are. So we've been around for nearly 20 years. The company was founded in 2002 as the Paciello Group. We actually happened to rebrand to TPG Interactive, or TPGI for short, earlier this year. We are an accessibility solutions provider. We support all phases of your accessibility journey. So we do that predominantly through our platform, but we have a very robust service capability. So for those of you that are potentially interested in a more comprehensive approach to accessibility, we do provide the services that would be complementary to a platform. So we offer audit services, we offer accessible UX design type services, accessibility training, and strategic consultation are among the things that we provide. We also happen to be part of a larger organization called Vispero. Vispero is the world's largest provider of assistive technology for blind and low vision. So we have a very unique perspective, I would say, from that regard, in that we have great familiarity with JAWS, for example. JAWS is one of the core products that Vispero family companies owns. And so we have all of that great background as well that comes to organization and provides other opportunities for us to help do JAWS scripting and other comparable services that might be valuable to companies that are going through their accessibility journey. One of the things we like to promote is that we are able to scale with your organization and be the tactical, immediate, urgent provider of support for those of you that have hair on fire problems, but we're also about building sustainable accessibility practices and a long-term longitudinal approach to accessibility. So you'll see some of that manifested in how our platform is set up and how we operate, but it also can be supported by the various other services that we provide. So, and as Brenton mentioned, I think there's good parity between the Compliance Sheriff platform and the Arc platform, and we're here to try to give you largely today a functional overview of that. So we won't spend a ton of time talking about pricing in detail or technical specs in detail. We'll really kind of leave it at the macro functional level today. But at the end of the session, there will be an opportunity for you guys to get linked up with TPG if you want to have a more involved conversation. And we actually encourage you guys to reach out to us to do that. So we'll provide some links to get connected with us and do a more personalized experience about how we might migrate you guys to Arc if you're interested. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to the actual expert now and let Kurt Mattis jump in. And Kurt's going to do a walkthrough of Arc for you guys and do some compare and contrast with Compliance Sheriff, and then we'll go from there. So Kurt, over to you.
Thank you, Travis. Welcome to Arc, the Accessibility Resource Center. As soon as I get it up here for you. Here we go. This is the Arc homepage. This is where you land when you log into Arc. Arc supports 5 core pillars of any successful accessibility program. It supports monitoring the automated testing in lower and production regions that you're familiar with. It has a help desk, which provides support from TPGI's experts in a very rapid fashion. It offers self-paced learning modules through our tutor section, covering every aspect of information and communication technology accessibility. Provides a knowledge base of detailed problem descriptions and best-in-class solutions. And of course, we house our TPGI engagements, the expert analysis work that's done to uncover what automated testing cannot. We use a feature called Arc Capture that allows us to bring results from manual testing into the same workspace that I'll show you here in Arc as the automated testing results. And so you get in one view everything related to your site with respect to what can be found in an automated way, as well as what we found in a manual way. Workspaces are the home for Arc's monitoring activities. In this particular account, we have several workspaces that have been built out. You can build as many workspaces as you wish. Workspaces allow you to organize your organization's assets accordingly with how your organization builds out those assets. So for example, development teams may build on more than one site, but only on certain parts. You can use workspaces to accommodate that so that they're only seeing what they are involved with. Workspaces can have multiple domains. In this workspace, we have one. It can have user flows. There's a user flow here. And it can have folders, which are a way to contain findings from a defined part of the site. Again, that typically aligns with a particular stakeholder group. So for example, we can put all of the sports pages from the Guardian newspaper into one folder for those who are involved with maintaining that particular part of the online presence of the Guardian. A dashboard presents the details for each domain, user flow, and folder. So Arc is built around a series of dashboards. And we take a look at the dashboard for the domain. We'll see that it contains high-level details, such as the total number of failures that were found, how many pages that were scanned. It gives you overall density score as well. This is a key number. This number is calculated by simply taking the number of failures divided by the number of pages that were scanned. We get an average number of failure per page. This number can be compared over time to itself as long as it's calculated using the same rules engine. Likewise, it can be compared to other domains as long as the other domain was scanned using the same rules engine. And so this is a very helpful number to give you insight as to where your domain is at with respect to other domains that you may have or other domains that are out in the wild. In addition to having scheduled domains, as you can see here in Arc, we can schedule our domains. There are settings that can be opened up to do that. We also have a Scan Now button, and this allows you to initiate a scan whenever you desire. Right now, what we're looking at are the results from our most recent scan, which occurred back on the 21st of this month. In Arc, we can easily see results from the prior scan by using our Select a Scan feature, where we can go in and pick any of the prior month scans that occurred, or if we're running weekly, prior week scans, and simply submit and see the details for that particular scan right here. Our performance visualization graph, which is on the domain dashboards, shows that WCAG density score over time. Obviously, something happened in the December release that significantly impacted the level of accessibility in a negative kind of way. And so this graph is very handy for quickly identifying where those things can occur. We also have the specific WCAG failures shown here in a pie chart, as well as the engine assertions that were found during this scan. All of the charts and tables and all the charts and graphs in Arc have related table views for accessibility, so that we are very focused on making sure that Arc is accessible. Each assertion, likewise with each of the WCAG failures, is a link that takes you out to a dashboard for that particular assertion. Successful failures, like I said, also have their own dashboard screens. And so we'll go out and look at our assertion dashboard here in a moment. We also see the performance by component section. Now, in this case, component represents a page because we're scanning a domain. If this was a user flow dashboard, component may be just a part of a page. And so we refer to them as components. And in this case, component means full page. We're showing the top 15 here using pagination. This is a top 15 list you don't want to be on. This is a list of the pages that have the most failures on them. I find this to be incredibly handy for making sure that none of those pages that contain your most valuable content, the content that people want to get at the most, which is one of the 3 highest risk exposure factors you have, is not listed here in the top 15. If it is, that's sort of a the house is on fire, go fix it problem. And so this is a quick view to get you that kind of information. And you can also go see all of them by using the View All Components link here. To assist in your decision-making process in yet another way, ARC provides recommended remediation priorities. These priorities are based upon the 3 success criteria with the most number of failures. This is the second one of those factors that is really important to consider in terms of your risk exposure, and that is frequency of occurrence. And this part of the data set addresses exactly that. So by choosing the success criteria with the most violations and then associating the related success criteria, related assertions with them, we help you focus in on the assertions that you should probably tend to first. Although I'll temper that with your third most important risk factor that you should consider, and that is end user impact. There may be an assertion that has a higher end user impact, such as a showstopper for a particular type of disability group, and that may be something that you would want to tend to more so ahead of these. All information that is aimed to provide you the ability to make the most informed decision you can make with respect to how you're going to go about remediating your existing problems. Excuse me. Okay, so lastly, on the main page, each assertion that ARC found is listed. We're also listing all of the alerts that ARC found. So these are assertions as well, but we're not positive, as is the case with any automated testing tool, that this is really a problem. A human has to go out and test it. So we list those here in this table as well. And so you can also see that we provide the particular success criteria that's related to the assertion, as well as what checkpoint level the assertion is related to. This data is all exportable in CSV format as well. All right, so let's take a look at our assertion dashboard now. That's why we'll go to this first assertion here, our SVG without area labeled by. So here on the assertion dashboard, we get a density trend as well for this particular assertion. It's pretty much been flatlined since the beginning of the year. Hasn't improved, hasn't gotten worse. So we're steady state. Selecting one, so we also give you here more detail about the particular assertion, brief explanation of what it's about, what success criteria is related to, link out to the WCAG success criteria in the WCAG standard, what engine was used to find this assertion, as well as our key. But we also provide knowledge-based resources here. And so knowledge-based resources are any articles within the knowledge base that are related to this particular assertion. They'll be listed here, and this is a bring it to you format, whereas we bring that data right from our knowledge base right here to you, and it provides that detailed explanation about what the problem is, as well as what our recommended solutions are. So this is a really handy feature that a lot of people make use of while they're here working on this particular assertion. All right, so each here in our page listing, this is the listing of all pages, by the way, that have this particular assertion that was found on it. And each of these are a link that goes out to the page dashboard. I would say ARC is built around a series of dashboards. Page dashboard looks an awful lot like a domain dashboard, has that high level details, has your failure density graph over time, highlighting a different problem that occurred in September of last year for this particular assertion. Again, your failures and engine assertions are here as well. And then recommended priorities with respect to this particular assertion, and then a listing of all of the assertions on this particular page. If we select the one that we were looking at, this particular assertion, we'll see that ARC will show you the lines of code on this page where this assertion was found. This helps you put in context where the issue has been located by ARC. Going back to our workspace, let's take a look at ARC's user flow capabilities for a moment. Much like a domain, user flows have a dashboard too. And so this is a user flow called Guardian.com Accessibility Review. And so this is the dashboard for it. You'll notice here that we're talking about 8 components scanned as opposed to the number of pages that were scanned. And really the key difference here lies in how ARC goes about gathering the data. When we're running a monitoring run It is defined by includes, excludes, domains, a variety of different key attributes that sort of contain the automated crawler so that it doesn't just run amok and go anywhere. But it does run on its own. It's sort of autonomous. In user flow, there's no autonomy. This is strictly scripted so that Arc will do exactly what it's told to do as it goes through the script. You have very similar types of scripts available in Compliance Sheriff now. If I show you how we go about doing this in Arc, here on our configuration screen, high-level details about this particular user flow. But then here you can see the user flow steps. This is done by using an XML formatted Selenium script and then inserting instructions for Arc where to go about analyzing the asset. And so with these steps, Arc can be instructed to go through a part of a site just the same way a user would go through, entering values where values need to be entered, clicking on buttons and links, every aspect of what a user would do, and then being instructed to, at given points, actually analyze what's there on the page so we can change states of the page as well and analyze those. And so each one of these analyze asset commands produces one of the components. And so here's a list of components that are created as a result of running this user flow. The first few components here are instructed to analyze the full page. So they're pretty much just like a normal monitoring flow. But then we're going to come down to this one that says sign-in form, and you'll notice that the locator is not just the HTML page. In fact, it is within the ID main section, content section of the page that this is located. So we told Arc just to scan this particular part of this page. And if we click in on that, we'll see that here's our screenshot of what was analyzed. The high-level details again about how we got there, and the code, the actual HTML code that was used for Arc to perform this particular analysis. Very handy for people who are trying to debug and figure out how to go about solving problems. So this level of detail is available right here in Arc. But there are far more features available in Arc that I'm not going to be able to present during the amount of time allotted for this particular part of our webinar. But I do want to call to your attention that we do have the knowledge base. I showed you before how the articles kind of come to you while you're working through details on domain dashboards and other dashboards. But we have them in several modules as well. So you can go in and simply explore and learn on your own using the knowledge base modules. We also have our Arc user guide here. Very handy, very helpful. You'll find that this is extremely detailed. I'm a developer by trade. You know how developers feel about manuals. And if you don't, I'll tell you, we don't like them. This is a good one. This is really worth your time. There's a lot of effort that's put into this. It is maintained, updated regularly, and it will really help you understand how to use many of the features that are available within Arc. Some of the other key features that we just can't get into today are how access can be controlled within Arc. And other dashboards, such as the engagement dashboards for our manual assessments and then dashboards related to the success criteria. Firstly, as I said, all of that's going to be available to you right here in the user guide. So returning to our regular presentation, as we've seen, there's a certain amount of information that is necessary for every website crawler to effectively scan a site. You have those the details available in Compliance Sheriff. That's where you've entered them. We're going to take a look at those details now, some of them, to show you how they transition over into Arc for you. And you're going to get to hear a new voice. Your turn.
Yeah, Brett and Wes jumping back in here. So yeah, and so over the past weeks, months, Kurt and I did some exercises, and we ran scans or audits against common web properties so that we could really kind of create this comparison of features, functions between the two solutions. So that's what we'll see coming up here in the next set of slides. And just setting the table, here is the view that most of our Compliance Sheriff users are familiar with. This is the area where you would define scans, basically tell our solution what you want to test, how you want it to be tested through the selection of checkpoints or filters to control where the scan goes, even the clarification of transaction scripts. So we'll be referring to this full screen a few times here as we compare where these features and functions are found in ARC. Now that you've seen a high level overview that Kurt provided. So yeah, sorry, Kurt.
Yep. And so in ARC, the information for domain scan is provided on the domain configuration screen, which you're seeing here. And likewise, we're going to slice and dice this as we go through the rest of this section of our presentation to help you understand how the information that you're very familiar with and how you see it in Compliance Sheriff translates directly over into ARC. Right.
Yeah, the first area here is what we call in Compliance Sheriff base URLs. This is where you define the URL and domain of the website you're targeting your assessments against. Obviously, by default in Compliance Sheriff, our scan engine kind of stays inside of this domain and doesn't transition outside of it unless you perform some more advanced scan criteria, which is very comparable in ARC.
Domain configuration screen like we saw before at the very top. We have our domain details section, and that's where your URL for the domain will be located. Once a URL is established for a domain, it can't be changed. It defines what the domain is, but the name of the domain can be. If I just move, here we go.
So then in the Compliance Sheriff scan definition, we have the concept of exclusion and filters, so that as Compliance Sheriff is crawling through the web property in the URL string, if these terms or phrases are found, telling the engine, no, we don't want to be assessing these pages. And there's comparable capabilities, of course, in ARC.
Same concept, slightly different execution. ARC uses exclusion patterns that essentially do the same thing. They instruct ARC to stay away from any URL string that matches this pattern.
And then the inverse, if you want to, maybe stay focused on a certain area of your web asset, or define exactly, what section of the site you want to stay in. In Compliance Sheriff, we use filters that include URL matching filters, and then in ARC, again, comparable capability.
We use seed URLs. Seed URL is the root. Seed URL is the root for the domain. It typically is one of the starting places that you want to scan to start, although we can avoid that if necessary. And then we can add in other seed URLs to have ARC scan other parts of the site that you really want to make sure ARC can get to. ARC also uses a concept called folders. And so folders are a way to represent just a piece of the site. Folders also have their own seed URLs. And so you can, within a folder, establish a particular set of seed URLs that will make sure that, like using our Guardian Sports section before, all of the information, all of the ARC gathers about that particular section of the site is organized into a single folder. And that folder has a dashboard, just like the domain dashboard, and the list of issues and top priorities, so that that particular stakeholder group that's interested in just that area can see exactly what they're interested in and not encounter any white noise from all the other information that ARC can gather.
Yep, exactly. Then also, of course, in a Compliance Sheriff scan, you define, what do you want to be testing your sites against? And so selecting checkpoint groups would be where you actually identify, for example, the WCAG success criteria is a standard you want to test against. And of course, that common functionality is also available over in ARC.
Yeah, in ARC, we set accessibility standards. We set the accessibility standards at the account level. That's the default. However, at the domain level, the standards can be changed. So we can say that account-wide, we want to test against WCAG 2.1, but however, for this particular domain, we're still testing on WCAG 2.0. And so that flexibility exists within ARC. You can also change in real time on ARC's dashboards between these two standards. ARC actually does the analysis against both standards whenever it does any kind of scanning.
Right. And then the last in this series is around page limits and levels. So this is controlling as Compliance Sheriff crawls to the site. How deep into the site do you want to crawl? and if there's a cap on the page totals that you want to stop after, maybe you just need a sampling versus scanning the entire web asset, and done slightly differently, but certainly capable for an ARC as well.
Here they're called crawl depth and max URLs, because of course limits really do matter. Either one of these tools needs to be told where to stop at some point. And so we use crawl depth and max URL settings to accomplish that here in ARC. And so those are some of the basic domain configurations that are identical across both tools and how we go about implementing them. But now let's turn to some of the more valuable features and functionality offered on both platforms. So when logging in is required, both platforms can actually execute an authentication script on the domain prior to scanning it. So both have that same capability. In ARC, it's easily exposed. It looks much like the user flow scripts I was showing you before. And as we know, oftentimes the credentials change, especially if we're working in lower regions. It's very easy to go into ARC and simply add in a different value, the new value, take out the old value, and continue scanning without interruption. Transaction scripts representing the journey and actions a user might take can also be consumed by both applications. Again, these are user flows within ARC. The assets are analyzed along the journey to produce a single view of the journey's level of accessibility. The assets or components in ARC is instructed to analyze can be as specific as a single select list on a page, as I demonstrated earlier, or as a defined section of the page, header, footer, for example, or of course be the entire page. And both tools have scheduled and on-demand scans. This is really important to understand how you're going to control when the tool is going to actually perform its analysis work. And so that's the way it looks for you that you're familiar with in Compliance Sheriff. And this is what we see when we go to this in ARC, where we schedule our scans, and under our action settings, we can change what this is going to be. Our schedule scans, you can run anything from daily to weekly to every other week, for nightly to monthly in ARC. And you can set the next scan and time. Time becomes an important factor when you're working in lower regions, when you know certain releases are going to take place, and you actually want to avoid them. So you timer scan out to make sure that it's not going to occur when a release is occurring. And then, of course, there's the scan down button. Both tools allow you to export results when desired. ARC's dashboards and folders provide the means to export a subset of the full set of data collected during a scan. So you're not necessarily seeing all of it when you do your download. For example, just a page, all the issues for a single page can be exported. Likewise, section on the site as viewed on a dashboard page can be exported. So again, your folders, that content can be exported. Both tools provide a way to data filter. On Compliance Sheriff, that's performed mostly on your custom views screen by selecting within this particular area what you want to scan and how you want it to present here, and what types of tables you want, what data points you want in your tables, and so on. Again, ARC uses a variety of dashboards to represent the data for each WCAG success criteria and each assertion ARC finds, as well as for pages and user flows. So all that is handled simply by visiting a series of different dashboards. Dashboard is also provided for the folders, as I pointed out. And so that one becomes really important, again, especially if you're working on a large site, to keep just that portion of the site isolated away from the rest to make it easier for those folks to work on. ARC provides contextual issue identification in real time on a page using the ARC Toolkit, companion product to the ARC platform itself. And as you can see, it helps to identify lots of aspects about what's going on a page. Where you can see things are in black, this is actually pretty good. Where you see things in red, well, that's a problem. We're missing area labels here, and we have no label at all here. And so it's easy to see contextually using the ARC Toolkit. And API access. I know I've talked to Brenton, and Compliance Sheriff has offered API access to you. I don't know if any of you are taking advantage of it or not. We also offer it via ARC. We're expanding this capability all the time. It's pretty robust as it is. And for anybody who's familiar with how APIs work, this will give you the ability to integrate the power of ARC directly into your continuous integration, continuous development pipelines. or directly to the developer desktops, or you can create your own dashboards and pull the data in just like we do. Arc is using Arc's APIs, obviously, to represent what I showed you in that demo. You can use them likewise to build your own dashboards to represent the data however you best see fit. So to recap, basic feature set and strong features of both tools. You have authentication flow capabilities, transaction strips for basically behaving just like a user would. Scheduler on-demand scans. We can export the results. We can filter the data. We can identify the issues contextually, and we provide API access. There are several ways that Arc can be deployed. We believe the best deployment option is our cloud hyperscale. But if you have hard security requirements that prohibit this, we offer several other secure options. VPN tunnel, an AWS Amazon Machine Image route solution, and a container image, fully on-prem supported. Now we decide maybe which is the best solution for you. We have a simple little flow to work through. If your website is basically public, out there publicly available, google.com, the straight up Arc Analytics Hyperscale is the best way to go. Easiest for you to maintain, and you have no maintenance. We do it all. If it's not directly available to the public, or if the domain is being protected by bot detection software, or if it's in a lower region that you simply can't just directly access, then maybe safe listing Arc's IPs will work. And then we're basically still using the Analytics Hyperscale solution, but with safe listed IPs. That's not going to do it for you. Well, can you provide VPN access to it? If you can provide VPN access, then we can still use the Analytics Hyperscale solution via the VPN tunnel. Can't do that? Well, is the resource accessible via your private AWS cloud? And this is where you can bring in an Amazon Machine Image into your cloud, manage it yourself, and therefore not have any dependency on us. And if you don't have a private cloud with AWS, then for sure the resource is accessible via your infrastructure. And so that would be the customer managed container image. That's basically the entire image pulled out and balled up and given to you, and you unball it, basically install it on one of your servers and run it from there. By transitioning to Arc, we hope to be able to provide you a more rapid start and provide you more capabilities than what you're accustomed to having with Compliance Sheriff. By the way, not to say anything at all negative about Compliance Sheriff. In full transparency, a decade or so ago, when I was building out JP Morgan Chase and Company's accessibility program, Brenton was my representative for Compliance Sheriff. I had Compliance Sheriff as one of my tools. So I am very familiar with that tool and can only say good things about it. But Arc has gone beyond where Compliance Sheriff was able to go. And so we're able to offer you even more than what you currently have. In terms of what we can migrate from where you're currently at, your domain scan configuration. So as we pointed out, the display name will become a title in Arc. Your base URL and starting URLs become root and seed URLs. Page limit and levels becomes max and depth settings, includes, excludes, seed URLs and exclusions. Your scan groups will become workspaces within Arc. And your section scans will be housed inside of folders, since that's how Arc manages that type of data. What won't migrate is your historical data. We are not able to bring that over. And the home migration is optional in terms of how you reconfigure your domains. This may be a great opportunity, sort of like moving, to reset some things. And so if you wish to reconfigure the domains, we're happy to help you out doing that as well as we bring them into the Arc platform. And as I pointed out during the demonstration, Arc also provides tutor. These are 18 expert authored self-paced learning modules created by our experts. The knowledge base, again, perpetually maintained by our experts. As things change within the W3C, as things change within the technology stack, we're updating our knowledge base to make sure that we're providing solutions for today's types of technologies. We have scanning with the Axe open source rule set available in Arc. It's turned on by default. You can turn it off. you can set it as your default setting if you're really familiar with those rules and want to continue using them. So we have that option available to you as well within ARC. Integration with TPGI's expert manual assessments, as I pointed out, through ARC capture capabilities, we bring automated manual findings together into a single workspace for you. And we have help desk subscriptions, rapid access to our experts. When you need that answer, you need that answer soon. The more it waits, the less likely it's going to be tended to. Again, I come from rural development. I know how they think. I know how I think. And so, yeah, having rapid access to get the answer when I need it now, if it's not available in any of ARC's resources directly, like Tutor or Knowledge Base, is a very handy thing to have. And with that, let's work on making it accessible.
Okay.
Travis.
So thanks, guys, for going through that. I think that was great coverage, and hopefully folks got a good feel for the art of the possible here. If you guys are interested in migrating over to ARC, just in case it was not abundantly clear, we are not automatically migrating anybody, right? So this would in essence be somebody raising your hand saying you're interested in the ARC platform and us scheduling time with you to talk through what your need is, and then assembling a subscription for you guys. And we do work on a subscription model here. So we're happy to walk through your particular case with folks and understand what your needs are and build something that's going to make sense for you. If you're interested in that, there was a link on this slide here that you can go to go get some of this information in greater detail. There's also a link, it's in the chat, that if you guys want to click on, you can directly go to that and you can go sign up for an appointment with us. So we have a scheduler out there that you can go get directly connected with a rep here. In most cases, we've already assigned your accounts to reps, so you might have already started hearing from our reps, or if you've not heard from them, you can ask for a meeting. So I think Brad put the scheduling meeting link in there. So please, please hit on that link if you'd like to schedule time with us. And as mentioned, there's some of the information from the presentation will be available through this other link as well. So I know there were a few questions that went by through the chat that I don't think we've gotten to answer all of these yet. So I'm going to roll up here and I will read the questions out and we will try to answer them. So let's see. The last one I saw was from Corinne. It asked, does ARC allow for scanning of websites and web apps that require a special authentication from your local machine? For example, intranet sites. Would it depend on which deployment option you have? Now, Kurt, I mean, what do you, I guess the answer is it depends on that one.
Well, yeah, if we can access the lower region from the outside, either through one of the other solutions, VPN tunnel, or just simply whitelisting or safe listing, I'm sorry, our IP addresses, then we don't need to go to any of the other machine image type solutions, even though it is intranet. I have a case now where, it requires actually a dual login in order to get to it. First, we have to authenticate into the region, and then we have to authenticate into the intranet site itself. And ARC is capable of executing both those authentications and then conducting the scan. So we have a wide variety of versatility available in terms of how we go about implementing the engine that ARC can run.
Got it. Okay, great. Natalie had asked, will the presentation slides be made available? Yes, we will make the slides available to you guys. Tony had asked, it said, are reports required to show passing percentage as well as list of failures? Can the system provide both a passing and failing percentage as separate reports? Passing scores are just provided to reporting to general staff and reporting centers.
I think caution should be used with respect to the level of detail we expect from any automated scanning tool. First and foremost, it needs to be understood that, and it's debatable within this profession as to exactly how much automated tools can find. I hear anywhere from 20 to 50%. My 20-some years of experience tells me it's somewhere around 30 to 35%. So we're really only looking at a subset anyhow. And so trying to become real specific and exacting with the numbers by only looking at a subset of what the entire site has may not have much value. So I suggest caution when looking at what any automated tool can tell you. The general idea is to give you a sense as to what's out there that is a problem that you have. Yeah, we can get very specific with defining those problems, but we're not going to be able to tell you every single problem on every single page. That's just not doable. And so, yeah, you can look at the numbers either from the positive or from the negative. We tend to approach it by showing you your WCAG density score, other neutral score, as opposed to getting into exact pass and fail percentages. Hopefully it helps. I do caution people very much to be careful about how you interpret the data that automated testing can provide. It's valuable.
Yep.
But use with caution. So.
Yeah. Tony had also asked, can we see the charge slide again? I think, Tony, if you're asking about what the fees are, I think that's what you're asking. Let's actually, I would prefer to do that through a one-on-one session with you guys, because we don't have all the fees in a slide here. So we just had brief references to the non-cloud hosted deployment fee structure. So, so I think let's get time scheduled with you if you're interested in that, and we can talk about your particular situation and talk to you through what the fees are. As a general statement, I'll just say this because we're transparent about this. Our model is predicated on a seat tier plus usage structure. So think of that as you have X number of users that you want to have access to the platform, and you have Y number of test calls, we'll call it, that you're trying to monitor or test for. And we can build that up in a variety of ways for you, but it's a very straightforward model. So if you have seat access, our base tier, what we call essentials, is a $29 per seat per month fee. So you can do the math. For a 12-month access, it's $348 times however many users you might have. And then the usage fees are 5 cents per API call or test call. And so every time you test a page, that would be a test call, would be 5 cents, and you can build up your pricing on a monthly basis if you want to sort of have a cap to what you want to spend. Alternatively, we do have an option for you to simply put a credit card in on our platform and just run on a monthly basis, right? And it's a straight usage model. So it's very flexible, and we're happy to walk through the specifics of that if there's known quantities that you guys are looking to cover. So, and there's some other fees if you're doing more exotic things, like if you need SSO maintenance and things like that, that we're happy to go through based on your individual scenario. James put in a question in there about
Can I add on that one little piece?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfectly clear. With any of those plans, you are getting access to the knowledge base and tutor as well. That comes with them. There's no separate fees for those.
That's right. Yeah. So if you have a seat, you get access to the platform, all of the content, all of the tutor training courses, all of our knowledge-based content through your seat. James had asked a question about, do you have the ability to do transaction scripts? Yes.
Yep.
And then if the add-in or site has front case and duo front end. So my guess is that the answer is still yes, James, but like if there's something unique that we need to look at, we can look at it with you and figure out how to support it. James had also asked, is your solution cloud only? I'm not going to say it's cloud only, but it's predominantly a cloud-oriented solution, James, yes. And he had asked, what if we want a test in production on site? So there, as Kurt mentioned, we have what's called a container solution that would allow you to deploy something locally. The fees for that would depend on how many containers you need. And we can talk through those options with you. You know, we would ideally like to route everybody through the cloud model, which is a highly secure model. But if you have some very, very particular need to meet a security requirement that for some reason we don't meet under our model, we're happy to try to get you to something that's going to satisfy your need. So I don't see any other questions. So unless there's anything else.
Travis, I'm just going to circle back. One that was asked early in the session was around exporting of results in ARC, which I can highlight. We saw a quick screenshot that you can export CSV or Excel files, but you can also do prints of the reports inside of ARC, and certainly highlight if there are more capabilities. But then there's just an additional question of the accessibility of the interface itself. For example, screen reader capabilities looking at reports, I think would be good to highlight.
So the good news is we have an awful lot of screen reader users. I have a Sparrow parent and the whole JAWS Freedom Scientific branch. I would tell you it's probably 90% people with vision impairments. We also have them here within TPGI. And so, yeah, our own employees try to keep us as honest as possible. And we do our best. We do put our tool through accessibility testing. In fact, we use ARC to test ARC because ARC is cloud-based. We can do that. And so we do our best, just like everybody else. I will tell you that we are highly accessible. And I will tell you, like any other website out there, we'll never be perfect. We'll never have full accessibility. We'll never be without a bug of any type. But we are about as close as we can get at this point, and working diligently to always maintain it. And again, our people inside, the employees that work here are all over the site all the time. I have a particular person on my team. He is sure to tell me instantly when he runs into a problem. So yes, we are very mindful of that.
Hey, James, I added one more question in here.
If you come onto the platform, we would like to know if you encounter any issues like that. Please, there's a link right at the bottom of every page. Use it. Tell us. We'll fix it.
Yeah, that's a great point. James had added one other question in here about being able to migrate artifacts out of CS to ARC. The answer is no, we're not migrating artifacts, right? So we'll migrate configuration, basically, right? So we can help you guys migrate an existing config, but the actual historic results, you'll have to somehow snapshot on your side to keep historic trends separate. So, and there was a question in here about, also from James, about can you opt for a site license unlimited? Again, let's take that offline in a separate conversation directly. The container option gives you some ability to, scan at volume, but we want to understand what your particular scenario is to understand how to price it for you. Okay, so again, if you guys are interested, we'd love for you to click on the link, schedule a meeting with us. We'd love to connect with you directly, and we will be following up with you proactively one way or the other. But if you are highly interested, please go ahead and reach out. We'll get time scheduled with you to go through ARC in greater detail, and we look forward to hearing from everybody, even if you just want to get a deeper understanding of what the art of the possible is here. But we'd love to be working with all of you guys and hope to hear from you. And I want to thank everybody for attending today. All right. Thanks, guys. Everybody have a great day.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Great to see you.